Hello and welcome to our first Maths Fluency lesson of the summer term. Here's how this video is going to work today. I'm going to start off with a short reminder of what Maths Fluency is for you and why it's important. And then I'm going to show you 3 ways today that you can learn some of the number sentences, some of the calculations that it's really important to know in year 1 and year 2. Okay, but let's start off with that quick reminder of what Maths Fluency is and why it's important. So in year 1 and year 2, what Maths Fluency is often about is learning some really important calculations and knowing them so well that you don't even have to think about them, that you don't have to spend time working them out in your head or on a piece of paper. And then it's taking all of those calculations that you know and being able to use them to answer more tricky problems. Okay, so it's about knowing really quickly in your head the answers to some simple calculations and then knowing how you can use them. Okay, so with that in mind, let me show you the calculations, the number sentences that you need to know by the end of year 1 and year 2. So here they are, here's the number sentences that you need to know by the end of year 2. And you can see that they're all different colours and similar calculations, similar number sentences are grouped together in the same colour. So before you get on to doing any of the activities that I am going to talk through in a moment, what I think is best to do is pick a colour. You could start right the way at the beginning on the greys, or you could go through and work on some of the slightly harder ones. Pick a colour and have a go, test yourself, see how well you do at the calculations in that colour. Now you can get someone else to read these to you and test yourself, or you can test yourself just by reading them aloud. So let's take the oranges, for example. You could read them aloud and say, 2 add 3 is 5, 2 add 5 is 7, 2 add 7 is 9, and keep going and see how quick you are. But some of them might take a little bit longer. You might not know them quite as well. Even if you know the answer or you can work out the answer, it might not come to your brain straight away. In which case, here's a few activities that you can use to really help you learn these facts. Okay, so there's 3 activities that I want to show you, and all of them are ways to help you learn all of the number facts that you need to know in year 1 and year 2. Okay, so check out this first way. This is using a 10 frame and things that you've got lying around the house. And hopefully a picture of that 10 frame was on the email sent to your grown-ups this morning. So you may be able to print it out if you've got it. And have a go with it. Don't worry if you can't use a 10 frame, that's fine. I've got 2 other ways that you can practice with these calculations. But let me show you that first one with the 10 frames first. So have a look what I've got here. I've got some 10 frames. 1 10 frame at the top and 1 10 frame at the bottom, which means that I've got 20 spaces all together. And I have filled one of my 10 frames with some paper clips because I found a whole load of paper clips in a drawer. But you can fill your 10 frames with whatever you want to practice these calculations. You could use small paper balls. This was one that I just made from some scrap paper, and you can put them in there and they can fill the 10 frames. Use whatever you like. You could use pasta or buttons if you have them. Anything you have, and you need about 20 of them for this to work best. So let's say that we are working on the calculation 9 add 9. That's one of the green ones, and we could also say double 9. Now, the beauty of using one of these 10 frames is that it lets us see what's happening in the calculation. So let's say you got to 9 add 9 and you were a little bit stuck and you thought, oh, that's taking me quite a long time to work out in my head, or maybe I need to write it down to work it out. I want to know that fact really, really quickly. So what you can do is make 9 add 9 with your 10 frame. There we go. And what's great about a 10 frame is that you can see straight away that these numbers are both 9. Because if you know that one 10 frame, when it's completely filled up, has got 10 in it, then 1 less than 10 is 9. So you know that if you've got 1 space, then this must be 9 and this must be 9. And then it's really easy to add these numbers together. Okay, so we just need to fill up the 10 frames. So we'll take 1 off the end, pop it in there, and you can see that we've added them both together, and now we've got 10 in our top front 10 frame and 8 in our bottom 10 frame. So our answer to 9 add 9 must be that 9 add 9 is the same as 18, a 10 and an 8. Let's try another one just so that you can see. So let's say you're working through your calculations, and let's say you're doing one of the dark greens and you get to 4 add 5 and you don't know it straight away. So you think, right, I'm going to get my 10 frame out, I'm going to have a go. So you make 4 add 5, and because it's an add, it doesn't matter which way around they go. So we normally put the biggest number on the top. There we go, that's 4 add 5 or 5 add 4. And you can see that we've got a 5 at the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But even if we didn't count them, we know that half of the 10 frame is filled up, so that's 5. And you can see that we've got 4 at the bottom. So now let's add them together. We take off one at a time and add them together. And there you go. You can see straight away that we've got 9 altogether. Because just like before, we know that a full 10 frame is 10, so if there's 1 missing, we must have 9. So what that does, and what these 10 frames do, is they make it easy for your brain to see the answer to these calculations. So that next time you come to 4 add 5, you can imagine it in your head, and you can think to yourself, oh, I know what happens when I add 5 and 4 together, I get 9. And you can picture this 10 frame and do it in your head. So that's one way you can practice all of those different colour calculations using a 10 frame. But you might be thinking to yourself, well, what happens if I don't have a 10 frame? And that's a great question. So here's another idea that you can use to help you remember these number sentences. So let's pick the number sentence 6 add 3. And this strategy is really good, especially if you're in year 1, to help your brain find ways to remember these calculations. So we're doing 6 add 3. So let's imagine that these paper clips are birds sat in a tree. We might say there are 6 birds sat in a tree, and 3 more birds are going to come and join them. 1, 2, 3 more birds. There we go. We've got our 6 add 3 birds here, and now I can look at this and I can notice things about it. I can notice, oh, it's 3 times. There's 3 groups of 3. I could also notice that if I arrange them like I do on a 10 frame, well, I've got 5, and then I haven't got 5 on the bottom, I've got 1 missing, so I've got 9. Or you can just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 birds sat on that tree now. And by making a number story, and especially if you can show it with something like some paper clips or counters, it helps your brain to understand what's going on in that calculation. So, right, third activity. This activity is for when you know some of your facts really, really well. And it's a way of helping your brain go even further and really think about how all of the numbers work together. Okay, so let's take one of the facts. Let's take 6 add 3, because we just looked at this one. Okay, so you know in your head 6 add 3 straight away equals 9. Okay, and now you can play the game, I also know. And so you can think about, and you can do this either out loud, you can talk it, or you can write it down. You can think about, if you know 6 add 3, what else do you know? So let me give you an example. 6 add 3 equals 9. I also know that 3 add 6 equals 9. Because it doesn't matter whether I add 6 to 3 or 3 to 6, I'm always going to have 9 altogether. So 6 add 3 equals 9, 3 add 6 equals 9. I also know that 9 take away 6 must equal 3. And I know that 9 take away 3 must equal 6. But I could go even further. I also know if 6 add 3 equals 9, then 26 add 3 must equal 29. I also know that if 6 add 3 equals 9, then 60 add 30 equals 90. So you can see how from just one number fact, there's all sorts of things that you can work out really, really quickly. And it's really fun to challenge yourself and see how many different things you know just from one number fact. Okay, so that's just an extra activity you can do to really challenge yourself. And I would encourage everybody to have a go at that at some point. It's a really great activity, and it really helps you make lots of connections in your brain between different numbers so that you can really understand how they all work together. Right, I am going to leave it there for today. So hopefully what that's given you today, you can finish this video and you can go away and have a go with either the 10 frame, either making up number stories, or by playing I Also Know. You've got 3 ways that you can really practice learning those number facts that I showed you at the start. And don't forget that your first step is to pick a colour and see how many of them you know. And keep moving through the colours until you find some that are a bit more tricky. So you can go away now and have a go at some of those games. I hope you found that helpful. You can come back to this video and you can come back to those games as often as you want to. The thing about Maths Fluency is the more you do it, the better you get. If you want to have a go at this and then you want to change, look out for our Maths Fluency video next week on Wednesday, which will give you some more ideas, a different focus, something else to help you practice your maths fluency. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you again soon.